Welcome to Statful's demo and presentation on Telemetry 101. It's more than ones and zeros. Statful are headquartered in Portugal, and they provide a platform for complex metrics visualization used across a range of industries. In today's demo, we will be covering 5 aspects of Statful's offering: Overview, Explore, Visualize, Alerts, and Forecast. We are joined by Hugo Valente, the tech product owner at Statful. Hugo joined Statful in December 2017 as a product owner, and he is dedicated to raising brand awareness and connecting businesses who need a better metrics monitoring system. He is currently working on product evolution and running day-to-day operations, and he has a wealth of experience in solutions architecture and project management roles on large-scale ERP projects. Hello, Hugo.
Hi, Mike. Good morning. Let me start with the overview of Statful to give a kind of context of what our product is and what it can offer to our customers or to someone that is looking for telemetry. So looking to this slide, you can see the solution, and we can read it is from left to right. We start with what type of information or data, or what we call metrics, you can push into the products. And this part of metrics really is what is meaningful for any kind of business to run their day-to-day operations and to be on top of what really matters to them. So it can be from business KPIs, application usage details, and infrastructure monitoring. And the way the data can go into Statful is through our public API, which is something really simple, like with just a simple line command, you can send data to Statful. But we provide you some means to facilitate this kind of work. So if you're focused on business KPIs or application usage details, you can use from the collection we have from our open source clients that cover different types of programming languages from Node.js, JavaScript, and Java, where you can plug into your products and to your projects. And with a simple call to a provided library or an endpoint, you can push the data into the product. Besides these kind of facilitators, we also provide two collectors focused on infrastructure. This is one for AWS, if you have infrastructure running on AWS, which connects to CloudWatch. And then we have one that connects with Kubernetes, if you have something running on Kubernetes. Once that data is into Statful, you can start exploring and creating your visualization of this data. We start with creating your graphics, which then will build your dashboard that will look like a cockpit, so you can have a kind of in real-time view of what's really happening and what's really going on with your business. After you have set up this kind of visualization, you can start working on alerts, so that if something is happening that you're not expecting and something is falling through some kind of threshold, you can react to that and be notified with different means of communication. So you can get alerts through email, Slack, PagerDuty, or through webhooks connecting to any kind of public API. In a nutshell, this is the product that we offer. So now automation out of the box, but not hard to set up. So let's now look at the Explorer, which is the place where you start checking the data that you've already sent to Statful, and you start creating your graphic visualization of your data. As an example, let's start with one metric that we use in our product that we call Web Timer Response. And you can see here, this metric has some different aggregations options, and we have information from the average time of execution of a given feature. When a user does something on our product, on our UI, we measure the time it takes for that action to be completed. So we can see if something is taking longer than usual, so we can have an idea what is the level of the user experience for the user, if it's facing some kind of issue. Or we can even check if we see, say, a count, we can see a number of times a given feature is being used. In our case, we are still looking into a consolidated view. So we are checking for the last hour with the resolution of 1 minute, what is the number of features that are being used in our products. But these timelines you can adapt and change for whatever you need. Let's say, for example, we want to see the last 7 days. Automatically, the resolution is adjusted because 7 days by the minute is too much. So you have the minimum 1 hour. And let's say we want to see this for a given day, 7 days, a full week, an aggregation by day. What you have also that allows you to give more context to your metric, because above it's just a single line that you're seeing there, is what we call the tags. The tags allow you to give context to your metric and give some kind of understanding of what happened on that given point in time with that data. So in our case, our metric has tags that go from the app that we are collecting this data from, the environment, if it's our production, demo, or staging environment, and even the operating system or the browser that the user is using when he's using Statful. In our case, let's focus on the app, which is our Statful app. Let's focus on our production environment. And then let's say we want to look into some specific endpoints. So endpoints is the feature that the user is using on the UI. And let's do a group by on the endpoints. This still shows some level of data where one specific endpoint is used a lot, which is getting metric values, which is used everywhere on the dashboards in the application. And let's focus on some specific endpoints to be able to show you the level of the filtering you can do and what you can use here. So let's look at the dashboards endpoint. Let's also look at the events endpoint. And let's also focus on the timeline. So here you start seeing some more data, which is kind of in the same level of measurement, let's say like that. But still this shows some lines. For this type of representation, the best thing you can do is change your visualization of your graphic. In our case, let's use, for example, the bar chart, where you can clearly see the level of users on each endpoint by day. As we mentioned, this is the 7 days resolution by day. And you can see which endpoints are being used and compare with the other ones. You can also choose the part of the axis to give some names to specific labels to the axis, and even choose the measurements you are using on your representation. In this case, it's a number, could be seconds or memory kind of units that you use. What you can do also on the Explorer is start zooming in into some specific periods. For example, we are zooming in from the July 10th to the July 12th. You already see some data specific on this period, and you can keep zooming in. And at this point, you start seeing different levels of granularity. So at this point, we are seeing by the hour, and you could keep drilling in and go to the level of the minute or even second and see what's really happening. Once you're satisfied with your level of resolution, you can always come back to the level you were, 7 days, 1 hour by default, but let's change again for the level of 1 day. And here you can have a clear view of what's really happening on these 3 endpoints that we choose. And basically Explorer allows you to create your customized query and build your visual representation of your data, and then put this information into dashboards that allow you to create your cockpit. So you are on top of your business, your application, or your systems. So let me guide you through the visualization piece, which is our dashboard area. That after you have created your graphics in the Explorer, you are able to create this kind of mosaic of data, and data that can be correlated or not. But for you, it's important to see in a single piece of screen, and you have access to what's really happening in the moment. You can see for now on this dashboard, we are seeing system information and seeing system information from the last hour to this moment, with information being refreshed every minute and with a resolution of 1 minute. Here on the system, we are checking information from our product components that make Statful. And we see information, for example, from CPU, memory, the load on the machine, and even information on disk space. What's the space it's currently occupied or free. You can also, in this part of the product, you can have quick access to specific points in time. Let's say I want to do a zoom in on a point in time between 9:16 in the morning until some point in in time like 9:38. All the widgets are refreshed automatically with that kind of timeline. I want to see across all the information that specific point in time. And another very interesting feature associated to the tags that we saw on the Explorer is what we call templating. So you have some kind of hooks, tags that we call hooks, that allow you to easily switch context. So what we are seeing here is information around one of our pieces in our infrastructure, which is called Carbon. And we want to easily switch context to another application like we call Influx, which is our database. So with just one click, I've updated all this dashboard, all these widgets, and this entire dashboard with the new data from our database monitoring. You can navigate through these predefined or the pre-built dashboards that you have. So this was around system information. We have another one that is important to us, which is around the ingestion of our product. So understanding what's happening in terms of ingestion volumes on our product. So you can also navigate through the dashboards that you have created. And this, of course, is customizable to your needs. You create the dashboards you need. Another interesting feature is if you want to share data with someone that doesn't have access to Statful, and that person doesn't need to have access to Statful, you can easily download any of these pieces of data into a file and share it however it's easier to you, or directly send an email through Statful specifying the address name of that person, the address of that person, and then add some notes, say explaining why you are sharing and what is important on that piece of information. So you can really have everything on this kind of area and be on top of what's happening. Now that we have seen the Explorer, the dashboard, so we went through visualization, we are now in a point that we can start speaking about alerts and notifications. So you have the data in Statful, you have your visualizations, but you want a bit more. You want to be notified if something happens that you're not expecting. So you need to be informed and you want to be notified that you need to take some kind of action. So in this section of alerts, we start with an overview of what's really happening at the moment in the system. For now, in our supervision environment, all is in a good state. So most of the alerts are off. Some are disabled because they are not applicable anymore. And you have a kind of overview of the latest things that happen on each of the alerts. So we are checking account registrations on our product. We are monitoring the influx, which is our database, how it's behaving. For each of these alerts, you have information on the latest event that happened. You can explore a bit more on each of these events. So for example, on the free account registration, I want to see the latest events on the last hour. So last hour, nothing happened. It's still very early, but let's say I want to see on the last 7 days. So you see the alert going on and off as someone registers, and then the time passes for the alert to be turned off. What you can also see here on the alerts is the easy it is to configure something like this. So for example, on this account registration, what you really need to do is specify the metric that allows you to get this kind of information. So it was our web timer response, someone doing some action in the product. We check that is our Statful app. We see that the feature or the endpoint being called is register account. And we are checking any data point that comes on this metric, we want to send a notification. And this is a notification through email directly to me. So it's as easy as with the Explorer specifying what you want to see, the context of that metric, and then just defining some kind of threshold. So you can go from any data to no data. So if something is expected to be always being sent to Statful and suddenly doesn't send it, is not sent, you can also be notified of that. Or you can specify some kind of information. So the average, let's say you're checking response times, you're checking number of a given feature is being used. You can do a mean, a sum, or a count of that feature. And if it is above or below that threshold, you can also be notified. So it's really easy to do this setup. and then you're ready to be notified if something happens. Let me take you now to the forecast area in our product, which on top of the classic monitoring, the alerts, it's our path in bringing you some extra information, let's call it like business intelligence on top of your metrics. This is our initial step in this path. So it's our first release of this module, of this feature. And now let me guide you through it and then speak about the plans for us on this piece. So picking again the metric we were checking a while ago, the web timer response metric. I want to check this metric in our Statful app, because it's the app we are looking. I want to put the context also in terms of the environment. I want to see this in our production environment. And I want to see the aggregation I want to see is the count, not the average response time. I want to see the number of users of some features on the product. So after you specify which metric you want to analyze, you need to say what the historical level of data you want to check to be used, and then to say how much ahead you want to see for that period. So we are looking for the last 9 months and have a look ahead for the next 3 months of what's happening. So the system does a linear regression, applies a new linear regression algorithm to understand the behavior of your metric, understand trends, understand seasonality, and then using those calculations tries to give you some kind of prediction of what is the expected behavior for the future on that metric, and gives you a kind of an idea between an exact value and the max deviation and the mean deviation value. As I mentioned, this is our initial release. We want to be able to expand the way you can control this algorithm. You can then specify, you will be able to specify with advanced features on what will be the seasonality points you want to pass into the algorithm. Some specific events, let's say you have an holiday, there's something specific on some point in time in your history, and you want to mark it as something exceptional, so it doesn't affect your prediction in the future. So we have in plan to allow you to give more powerful in this area. But as a starter, this already can give you some kind of visualization of what is the future for you, for your data. So stay with us and stay tuned for the next steps on this.
So many thanks to Hugo for sharing with us the power of Statful. To find out more about Statful and their telemetry platform, please visit www.statful.com or start a conversation directly by emailing hello@statful.com.